Okay. Two. Ugh. God, I honestly feel like shit today. Like, I actually feel like shit. I can just go to here real quick. Pause that. Pop out the chat room. This way I have at least chat room to look at. We're waiting. It's gonna be up in 30 minutes or so. You'll know when it's live when you'll hear stuff in the background. But I figured I would just chat in the meantime. Have my beautiful ass face up here. My sick looking beautiful ass face up on the screen for you guys. Oh, speaking of which, I had to. What's up, Vet, by the way? How you doing? Man, I played Path of Exile for so fucking long now. This is the season. This season, I'm actually going to try to get as far as I can this season. I want to get as far as I can before I play Elden Ring. I am determined to do so. I'm finding a couple people that are interested in playing the game so we can actually like get through the game and have fun. Never played PoE. Have you ever played games like Diablo, Torchlight, stuff like that? My god, this one over here is more up to date and timing than this one is. Interesting. Literally. Okay, now they're both the same. No? Okay, so it's kind of like the same style of gameplay. You know, you get your character that's like right in the middle of the screen, and then just top down, you see everything around you, and then you like move around using your mouse, and you attack things, and typically the game is built around just slaying a shit ton of mobs, so there's always like massive amounts of mobs on the screen. It's like, you know those like Japanese games? Like the best way I could describe it is those Japanese games where you have to like, you have probably like a third person view Japanese game, and you just run in, there's like a bunch of like little guys that are just all over the place, and you have to slay all those little guys, so it's like really easy to kill them. But then like in those games you'll have like whatever bigger fellow that is a little bit harder to kill that you have to actually like slay. It's like one of those, except it's top down. But cool thing with this game is you get loot. The whole selling point of this game is to build your character. That is the main selling point of this game. It's not just slaying foes, that even though that's the gameplay of it. The main selling point is to be able to build your character, make very unique looking characters, having characters that do unique things, and yeah, that's pretty much, they pretty much give you like the tools necessary to be able to do that. So for someone like me who's played for a long time, I'm going to watch this and I'm going to see what they're going to add. And be like, dude, that's sick. Or I don't know if I'm going to like that. Whereas a new player would probably be like, okay, that's just sick in general. But then they'd play it and not know what the fuck they're doing. So, because the game is heavily developed. This game has been in development since 2013. That's when it was released. So this is a very heavily developed game. So... yeah. There's going to be a lot of interesting things. Right now, we're just chilling. I mean, I could play, like... I'm play Pretzel Rocks. I don't give a shit. I don't know what the fuck's on Pretzel, but I don't like listening to this garbage music. But whatever. I have at least something in the background instead of nothing. Pretzel Rocks you can play. I'm not playing a game. I'm playing music. If this even loads. I don't even think it loads anymore. Yeah, it's like a music streaming service for streamers and shit. But I don't even think it loads anymore. It's not loading. What a glorious program. Okay. Never mind. We're not listening to Pretzel Rocks. I don't care. I guess it's just going to be silence. Actually, you know what? I do have Epidemic. I do have Epidemic Sounds. I do have a subscription to that shit. I can use Epidemic Sounds. Log in. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. I hope I still have my username and password for Epidemic. Or else I just paid for their subscription. I can't even get rid of it. Well, I'm pretty sure I do somewhere. Give me a second. What? There's no way the password was that long. What the fuck? There we go. I cannot remember what use. Okay, it's not that one. It is. It's this one. No. What the fuck email do I use? Do I use my Gmail account? Do I use my business Gmail? I don't even know. Yes, I do. I use my business Gmail. Okay. I love listening to nothing, by the way. It's great. All right, so if that's the case, that's the email, that's the password. Let's just say I forgot my password. Okay, perfect. Watch, by the time I get this up, everything's gonna be good. Okay. What kind of mood are we in? What have they got in here? I have no fucking clue. I've never been through this in a long time, so I don't know exactly what they have. They have rock music. I don't know what this is going to be like, but fuck it. How bad could it possibly be, right? I have no clue. It's going to be cringe. I already know it's going to be cringe. I'm so afraid to click on any of these. Oh, we'll just use beats. What's under beats? Fuck it. We'll just listen to beats. Popular. Can I just like... Do I have to click on each one just to go through them? That'd just be stupid. We'll start with this one. Oh my god, this loud. Oh my god, that's loud. Probably. It's actually not too bad. I thought it was gonna be worse, but it's good. I honestly don't know what the fuck this is, but we'll deal with it. We're just chilling. If you want to know what I'm looking at right now, that's literally what I'm looking at. Just waiting. So, I'm just gonna keep it on this page for now until it starts up. Where I did it so fast that you guys couldn't see. I'm looking at this. This is literally what I'm looking at. They only stream this on Twitch, which is sad. Unfortunately. So, we're kind of just waiting. They have 37,000 people watching this stream right now. It's not even started yet. But yeah, that's what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting for this to start up. Live reactions are fun. We got about 20 minutes or so before this starts up. So what's going on today, you guys? What you guys up to? Anything fun happening besides this stream? I totally thought this was gonna sound a lot worse, but it's not too bad. For free to use music. And I do have this set up to my yeah. I have my own license for this, so I can use it on my YouTube channel, which is nice. After this stream, I am gonna go get food again, because I want to be able to have food that I can eat for the rest of the day. So I will be getting food after the stream. It'll be about 2 hours. I don't know actually how long this stream will be, but I know I'm gonna get food after the stream. After this update, we'll talk about it from my point of view, and then I'll go get food, come back, and then we can do whatever the fuck we want to do. Never been more excited for waiting on a game. Is it gonna play the next song? Hey, it is. Nice website. I like this website. They've changed it a lot since I last was on there. It used to be like bare bones, kind of like how Monster Cat was. Monster Cat was still like very bare bones when it first came out, and it was really bad when it came to just listening to music on it, because you had to download the songs. Like, you could put it in a playlist and stuff, but the playlist was jank. Literal jank. It wouldn't work. I remember when that came out, and it was just so jank that I just said fuck it. And whenever I did live streams, I would always just put up the Monster Cat live stream, because I just said fuck it. The website was so jank. You had to like download the songs in order for you to create your own playlist. It was garbage. This is nice though. I think I could put it on like random or some shit, and it will just like randomize. Actually, can I? I don't even think I can. I can't. I can like songs. I think I could find similar to liking the songs, and then could probably help find the stuff like that, but it's not my vibe of music, but we'll deal with it for now until I deal with shit. Yeah. Love waiting. Yeah, this type of music up here is typically what I'm used to these days. I like that band. That band's really good. But whatever. Kind of just deal with it as you go. I'm just glad I get to actually see one of these lives for once. Usually I don't have the time to, or I'm busy at work or some shit. It's really nice. Let me see, what else have they got in here? Genres. What else have they got in here? I have no clue what this rock one is all about. I don't even know what is in there. Do they have like... I highly doubt they have metal. Oh, they do. Wait a minute. I'm gonna click on one of these and I hope that is good. I honestly have no clue because I've never used to like... Never listened to Epidemic Sounds metal tracks. I wonder what this is gonna be like. Dude, this better be like some fucking high tempo bullshit. Let's click on one of these. Let's do this one. Those stems are insane. I'm expecting insanity. Singer's okay. Literally, the singer is okay. That's all I can say. What about this one? This is slow. Oh my god, this is slow as fuck. This is like grunge, dude. This is like grunge slow. The fuck? Dude, this is like grunge slow, dude. I don't know who would want to use this in any of their videos. This is super slow. Where's the singer? It says this is non-instrumental. So where's the singer? I gotta hear how the singer sounds. $48 BPM, bro. The last song we listened to was 140. Does it get heavier? No. Let's try this one. I love this. This is so fun. This reminds me of something like Falling in Reverse in a sense. Not really them exactly, but like that style that they're singing. Never mind. Fuck. This is a different band. This is like a power. This is like a mix between power metal. This is actually not bad. Wait, what was that band? I remember playing that band a lot. There was a song called Tempest. Is it Defecto? Yeah, Defecto. That's what this band reminds me of. The singer, at least, Defecto style. It's pretty good. It's not bad. This is fast. Oh, let's do this. That's really good. I like it. Okay. There's now a total of 52,000 people watching the stream. Not even started yet. Okay. Singer's kind of fits, I guess, with the sound, because it's not like heavy. I don't know if those lyrics kind of fit. Or not lyrics, but like the singing style, though, with what the sound sounds like. That's a little better. Pretty good. All right, what's this one? Sort of good. Ooh. Ooh. I'm always down to like listening to new shit too, so it's interesting going through like more free use music and seeing what they sound like. Because a lot of the times with free use music, they just don't have like the production quality or the production emphasis that most modern days music does. And it's very interesting when you hear stuff from free use music that's actually pretty good. Like this. This is pretty fucking good right now. I love that. Oh my god. Damn, bro. I'm liking that. That's actually good. I love that that build up, orchestral kind of build up. And the orchestral people in the background. I love that. Okay. Sounds like it's just straight instrumental though, but it's good for straight instrumental though. This is like Vikings meets pirates. It's the best way I can describe this. Who is this guy? It's really good. Listen to another one here really quick because I got another 5 minutes before this live stream starts up. There's 61,000 people now watching. That was awesome. Let's listen to this one, Into the Flame. It's only a minute 55 seconds. It better be epic for a minute 55 seconds. We'll see. Because it's saying it's angry and epic, which means it's going to sound angry and epic. We'll see. Very melodic. Kind of a cut up there. He's trying really hard to add in other sounds that I don't think is necessary. I can also tell he's using a drum machine. Yeah, he is using a drum machine. All right, let's listen to one that's angry and dark. This is 80 BPM. Let's do this one. This is 128. Okay. Turn into a metal listening stream that we just listen to metal music. Let's go. Ooh. Okay. Looks like it's just instrumental too. It's also, the keys on it are really off. He's trying to fit so much information, so much sound into a 2-minute song. I do like this riff. This riff is really nice. But then he doesn't follow it up with a second setup of it. And then he just goes back into this. This part just sounds so good. I feel like that just offsets it a little bit. It's good if he just allowed it to prolong a little bit longer. Got another 3 minutes. Total 74,000 people watching right now. It's hilarious. Let's listen to this one. Then we're gonna call it after this one. It's 2 minutes. Once again, it's another one of those. No singers. A lot of times with these bands and stuff, it's hard for them to find like actual good singers. So most of the time they just don't do that. Huh. I think they do this build up way too much. This build up is done way too much, in my opinion. I understand it's like royalty free music, but they wanted a good sounding song. They just do this build up way too fucking much. Shouldn't be done as much. All right. Ooh, that sounded cool. All right. It's about time. It's about time. It's about time. We got literally a minute left. Exactly 50 seconds. Nope. 10 seconds. Sorry. 10 seconds left. Let's see if they start it right at 11 a.m. Let's see if they manage to start it right at 11 a.m. Are they all saying late? Yep. Late. Hype, let's go. Old dude walking in. Oh my god, look at all these people. And there's still more people popping up. They haven't even... I need to follow these guys. Might as well just follow them so they can stop. Oh my god, now they're dropping people. It went from 94 something to 82 something. Literally late again. Oh, no, it went back up to 99,000. Late again, let's go. It's a lot of fucking people watching a live stream. Are they live? I think... Are they live? Oh, it's stupid. All right, here we go.
I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Thank
Nice.
you for joining us.
Thank
as
you,
we
Chris
unveil Path of Exile's
Wilson.
Next big expansion,
Appreciate it.
Siege of the Atlas. Since the Atlas of Worlds was introduced in 2016, we have released 3 large endgame expansions, each evolving Path of Exile's endgame in a different way.
Atlas of the Worlds was fun.
Today,
I
I'm
love
proud to
War of
present
the
our
Atlas.
fourth
That
endgame
was one of my
expansion,
favorite.
which launches on PC and Mac on February 4th and on Xbox and PlayStation on February 9th.
Hell yeah.
Twitch drops are enabled for today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below to link your account and be eligible to earn the Wasteland Wings. We've got a lot to show you in today's live stream, so I'm going to cover a lot of ground quickly.
So we're gonna just
We'll
keep
start with the
watching
trailer
until
for Siege
game
of the
balance.
Atlas, and then
We don't need to
dive
watch
into
the
learning
Q&A.
about the pinnacle bosses you'll face as you explore the new Atlas of Worlds. We'll then talk about the new way you customize your Atlas experience. Rewards are next, with a focus on both the new itemization and crafting possibilities for endgame items, and the new unique and currency items you can earn by defeating the pinnacle bosses.
Okay.
Then we'll cover changes to how the Atlas works with its new game systems before revealing the Arch Nemesis Challenge League, which launches alongside Siege of the Atlas. After a summary of what game balance changes we're making in this expansion, we'll have a Q&A session where Ziggy D asks me questions from the community. Finally, we'll post the full patch notes as soon as the livestream ends.
Ooh,
Let's
nice.
check out the trailer for Siege of the Atlas.
I'm ready. Let's go. These guys do such a good job with their game. It's insane. Let's go.
Cirrus is dead. Zana has chosen exile. But the Atlas of Worlds remains a beacon for Eldritch horrors. We imprisoned the Elder. We placated the Maven. We've been preparing for the arrival of another, but we never expected Thor.
Oh shit.
They embody insatiable hunger, crushing darkness,
Ooh.
searing flame, merciless.
Oh shit.
If we don't stop them, they will consume everything. This is a war for our very existence.
Oh, interesting. Oh. Oh, what the fuck? Okay. What?
They are here. Stand with us, or we will all perish.
What the fuck? Wait a minute. What? Okay. You're gonna have to explain yourself.
The Atlas take place after the defeat of Cirrus. With Zana leaving to pursue her own agenda, Commander Kirik has taken responsibility for defending the Atlas and Rayclast against whatever Eldritch horrors might arrive.
Understand.
Because Oriath was decimated by both Katava and then Cirrus, Kirik has moved several map devices to an isolated island in the Kurui archipelago and has established a militia in order to prevent another event like the Cirrus incident. In this expansion, you will join Kirik's militia and will be asked to scout the front lines of the Atlas for threats. After encountering the Maven, you will learn that two more Eldritch horrors like her or the Elder are on their way to the Atlas. Unlike her though, their intentions are driven by the need to consume absolutely everything they encounter.
Okay.
You must learn what you can do about these entities and attempt to prevent the existential threat they pose to Rayclast. In Siege of the Atlas, the two new Eldritch horrors are the Searing Exarch and the Eater of Worlds. These are similar to other pinnacle Atlas bosses of the past, such as the Elder, the Shaper, the Maven, and Cirrus. You will hunt down these two bosses and their sub-bosses, the Black Star and the Infinite Hunger. You will be able to pursue both Eldritch horrors at the same time, but you can choose which you are pursuing on a map-by-map basis.
Oh.
In mid-tier maps, you'll randomly encounter the influence of either the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds. The Maven understands the threat that these Eldritch horrors pose to her plans. She will modify your map device so that when entering maps, you can choose to add either the influence of the Maven or any Eldritch horror you have encountered.
Ooh. Okay.
As you run subsequent maps influenced by the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds, the amount of influenced monsters in those maps increases as that Eldritch horror gets closer to you. Eventually, you'll encounter either the Black Star or the Infinite Hunger, one of the sub-bosses. You must defeat that boss in order to continue progressing closer to the horror you are pursuing. These bosses have exclusive new unique items in their drop pools.
Yep.
You're
We saw one of those.
encountered the influence of both horrors by this point and can choose which one you're
Saw
pursuing
one of those
in
on
each map.
the Twitter feed.
Finally, in the highest tiers of maps, you will encounter the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds themselves. If you are able to defeat these extremely difficult foes, they can drop their own exclusive new unique items and Eldritch currency items, which we'll describe later in the livestream.
Okay.
Once you have slain the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds once, you can then farm them. In order to do so, you must complete a series of tier 14 or above maps with that Eldritch Horror's influence applied. You'll eventually find a key that allows you to challenge the Black Star or the Infinite Hunger again. As this key to the fight is tradable, it's not a strict requirement that you slay this first boss, but the item rewards will strongly encourage you to do so. After continuing to farm tier 14 or higher horror-influenced maps, you will receive another tradable key to fight the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds, giving you another shot at their exclusive rewards. The keys to the farmable versions of these bosses can be rolled like regular maps, but with their own mod pool. This allows you to control the difficulty and rewards even further.
Very nice.
Earlier, I mentioned that maps can be influenced by the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds. Before we move on, I wanted to go into more detail about what that actually means. In influenced maps, as you defeat enemies, altars themed around the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds occasionally appear where you kill those enemies. These altars give you the choice between two options that can either modify your character, influenced monsters, or the boss of the map by increasing rewards but also increasing difficulty. You can encounter multiple altars per area, so sometimes you can drastically affect the difficulty and rewards of a map as you play through it. It's also fine to ignore it and choose not to increase the difficulty and reward of the map if you feel that it's already challenging enough. An example of a modification is altering the map boss so that all of its damage shocks, but also causing it to drop an additional Eldritch currency item as a reward. We'll explain what these new currency items do later in the livestream.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
In the last iteration of the Atlas, you needed to use Watchstones to both unlock new maps and raise the level of maps across your Atlas. This required grinding Conquerors and managing the optimal placement of 16 different Watchstones.
Yep.
In Siege of the Atlas, we've removed Watchstones and have restored the hidden maps back to the base Atlas so they don't have to be unlocked over time. We've added much of the power from craftable Watchstones to Atlas passives so that you can still access the benefits you're used to without the busy work of managing Watchstones.
Okay.
Despite the era of Watchstones being over, we do really like the ability to raise the tier of maps on your Atlas, so that eventually all of them are tier 16. To this end, we have introduced Voidstones. You can earn up to 4 of these, one each from the Uber Elder, the Maven, the Searing Exarch, and the Eater of Worlds. Placing Voidstones on your Atlas will raise the tier of all of its maps, eventually making them uniformly tier 16.
Oh, nice. Okay.
In Siege of the Atlas, we've removed the concept of Atlas regions entirely. This means that we're saying goodbye to regional Atlas passive trees and hello to a single gigantic Atlas passive tree. Ah, good old Path of Exile. This new tree has over 600 passives available to choose from, and you can earn 117 Atlas passive skill points by completing your Atlas. Each different map you complete the bonus objective of grants you 1 skill point. You can also earn some extra ones by completing the Maven's multi-boss fights.
What?
Whenever you allocate an Atlas passive skill, its stats apply to every map you run anywhere on the Atlas.
Oh
Also,
my
because
god.
It's much faster to complete earlier maps on the Atlas, your Atlas point acquisition is pretty front-loaded, letting you quickly establish an Atlas layout that helps you find and profit from your favorite content. We've integrated
Holy
some skills
shit.
from past regional Atlas trees and have created several new ones, like Secret Operations, which turns some of the strongboxes you encounter into a new type of strongbox that drops scarabs. Corrupted Gaze causes Abyssal Jewels to sometimes drop Corrupted with 5 or 6 modifiers rather than a typical 4.
What?
Ghastly Devotion guarantees that areas that contain ritual altars will always contain 4 altars.
Okay.
Having one massive Atlas tree means that you can deeply specialize in certain types of content without being limited to what was available in a specific region. You can increase how often you encounter your favorite content and can adjust how challenging and rewarding that content is.
Wow. Okay.
The removal of Atlas regions means that you have more freedom to run the maps you like without being
I like
forced
that.
into regions of the Atlas that have passives that affect
I
the
hated it
content you
before.
wanted to play.
I hated the
The
old
topic
like
of map drops is also important here.
mapping
Powerful
shit that they
characters are
had
capable
before.
of
I did
playing
not like
very
that.
juiced maps, which results in them finding a lot of items, including more maps.
Wish I could
Often,
pause it.
They get more maps than they actually need. Weaker characters have to be more careful with what mods they add to their maps, and hence find fewer maps. This new Atlas tree lets you choose how much you want to invest in the map tier upgrade that used to be the Atlas completion bonus, which means that powerful characters who don't need extra maps can instead focus those points on improving the rewards from content they play. On the other hand, weaker characters can invest in finding better maps, and can then respec this later on once they're finding a surplus. We'll make the full tree available next week so that you can start planning before Siege of the Atlas launches.
Nice.
Every large Path of Exile expansion needs a new way to create the most powerful items in the game. Siege of the Atlas introduces a new endgame item mechanic called Eldritch Implicit Modifiers. A problem we had with the old Shaper, Elder, and Conqueror influence system was that while the items were extremely powerful, they had to be crafted using highly specialized and complicated methods. A regular influenced item you found on the ground usually wasn't of much value unless it was a certain base type at a specific item level. Influenced items were generally not that useful in early, mid, or even most high-end maps, as they were basically a post-endgame feature. Our new system of Eldritch Implicits allows you to apply Eldritch mods to already good items that you have, so that you have a lot more freedom to choose how you create your best items.
Okay.
You can also start interacting with Eldritch Implicits much earlier in your mapping experience. As you know, Path of Exile items can have an implicit mod that either comes built into the item based on what type it is, or can be modified with systems such as Vile Corruption. Eldritch Implicits replace existing implicit mods, but with a twist. An item is allowed to have one Eldritch Implicit from the Searing Exarch and one from the Eater of Worlds at the same time. These implicits have many different tiers and several ways to interact with them. While playing maps in Siege of the Atlas, you may find some new currency items, Eldritch Ember and Eldritch Ichor, corresponding to the Searing Exarch and the Eater of Worlds respectively. These currency items can be applied to gloves, helmets, body armors, or boots, and overwrite the item's regular implicit mods with new ones from two special pools of powerful modifiers. As I mentioned before, an item can have both a Searing Exarch implicit and an Eater of Worlds implicit at the same time.
What?
Applying the same type of orb multiple times will overwrite the appropriate mod with a new random one. These gloves have a single Eldritch Implicit mod which grants you the ability to gain Rage on hit, rate limited by a cooldown. There are two Eldritch Implicit mods on this helmet. The first one simply grants some added fire damage with spells. The second implicit causes enemies within a radius near you to be unable to regenerate life. Each mod has 6 tiers of power. The first 4 tiers come from the 4 versions of the Eldritch Ember and Ichor currency items, while the highest 2 tiers can only be upgraded to with a special item we'll explain soon. The first tier of Eldritch Ember or Ichor drops on all maps and means that any important build-enabling mods are available without having to complete the entire atlas.
Nice.
The second and third tiers come from exploring maps influenced by the Eldritch Horrors, and the 4th tier drops from the Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds themselves. You may be wondering how you get access to the 5th and 6th tiers. This requires some luck and planning. The Maven and her encounters have a chance to drop the Orb of Conflict. When used on an item with 2 Eldritch Implicits, the Orb of Conflict lowers the tier of one implicit mod and increases the tier of the other. This allows you to manipulate the balance between the 2 types of implicits. The best possible outcome is to have a tier 6 and a tier 4 mod at the same time. In order to achieve this, you'd want to apply the highest Eldritch Ember or Eldritch Ichor over and over until you have a tier 4 modifier that you want. Then use Orbs of Conflict to try to get it to tier 6 before using more Ember and Ichor to lock in the tier 4 mod of the other type that you're looking for. We have made sure that the power of these modifiers is available earlier in maps so that you get access to them when you need them, rather than after you need them. Also, none of the new implicit mods have item level restrictions that prevent them from being applied to an item. There are also conditional versions of Eldritch Implicit mods that are only enabled when specific types of enemies are in your presence. These ramp up in power as the condition gets more restrictive. These conditional mods are designed for players who feel that they have sufficient clear speed for easier monsters and want to specialize in being even more effective against the really tough bosses where it matters. Items with Eldritch Implicits can also have a property of being dominated by one of the Eldritch Horrors. If an item has a higher tier Searing Exarch mod, then it is considered dominated by the Searing Exarch. Conversely, if the mod for the Eater of Worlds is higher tier, then it is considered dominated by the Eater of Worlds. Domination matters for 3 new currency items we're introducing. The Eldritch Chaos Orb will reroll the prefixes of an item if it is dominated by the Searing Exarch, or the suffixes if the item is dominated by the Eater of Worlds. The same is true for the Eldritch Exalted Orb and the Eldritch Orb of Annulment, which add or remove a prefix or suffix depending on which horror dominates the item. These very rare currency items give you a large degree of control over your endgame rare item crafting if you're able to manipulate the Eldritch Implicits correctly. It's important to note that you can't apply Eldritch Implicit mods to influenced items. By that, I mean items that have the old type of Shaper, Elder, or Conqueror influence.
Okay.
The Siege of the Atlas expansion contains a whole roster of new unique items, which drop from the 4 new Atlas bosses we have introduced.
Interesting.
All of these are powerful uniques, and we'll show you 6 of them today. The Ashes of the Stars Onyx Amulet increases the level of all of your skill gems and grants them an additional 20% quality. It also improves the reservation efficiency of your skills and lets you level all of your gems faster, which is really useful for gems such as Empower and Enlighten. The big boost to quality is very valuable with some alternate quality gems, as well as certain skills like curses.
Yeah. Interesting.
The Dissolution of the Flesh Prismatic Jewel changes the way that you interact with incoming damage. While you have this jewel equipped, damage is taken in the form of a temporary reservation to your life pool. If you reserve 100% of your life, you die. This allows you to ignore life recovery completely, since the actual amount of life you have left is irrelevant as long as you manage the timing of your life reservation. The Polaric Devastation Opal Ring introduces a new debuff called Covered in Frost, and gives you another way to apply the existing Covered in Ash debuff. This is a solid ring for anyone specializing in either fire or cold damage. In a similar vein to Covered in Ash, Covered in Frost causes the target to take 20% increased cold damage and lowers their critical strike chance. The Ceaseless Feast Spiked Gloves have a new debuff called Corrosion, which you can stack up on enemies to remove their armor and evasion.
Nice.
This is not only a great way to reduce their physical damage reduction, but the gloves also have an additional bonus that applies when you have stripped away all of the enemy's armor or evasion. We are also introducing a pair of very rare aspirational unique jewels, Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh. Each of these jewels drops from one of the 2 new Pinnacle Atlas bosses, and they are certainly unique in that they must work together to unlock their potential. They require the user of the jewel to be a specific class, and they roll with a modifier that specifies a random Ascendancy skill from one of the Ascendancies of that class. If you are able to equip both a Forbidden Flame and a Forbidden Flesh jewel that specify the same skill, and if you meet the class requirement, then you will be granted that Ascendancy skill. For example, if you're a Deadeye and find a Forbidden Flame jewel that specifies the Master Surgeon skill from the Pathfinder class, then upon finding and equipping a matching Forbidden Flesh jewel, you will gain the Master Surgeon skill. These jewels open up many new build possibilities for very late endgame characters.
I don't know if that's going to be good, though.
The Favored Map system allows you to find more of the maps that you want to play. In the old Atlas, there were 3 favored map slots available to unlock in each region. Now that regions have been removed, favored map slots can be unlocked by meeting various objectives like completing a Tier 16 map or defeating an Elder Guardian.
Okay.
There are 12 favored map slots that can be unlocked. These now apply to all map drops on the Atlas, rather than affecting map drops in just one region. Each slot provides a 10 times multiplier to how frequently its corresponding map drops, relative to other maps. You can select 12 different maps as your favored maps, or you can put the same map type in all 12 slots for a massive 120 times boost to its occurrence in your drop pool. This is particularly powerful once you've socketed all 4 Void Stones into your Atlas, making all of your maps Tier 16, and with a 120 times multiplier applied to a specific map. In this case, the specific map you have chosen will constitute over 50% of all Tier 16 map drops.
Wow.
Sextants can be found from Tier 14 onwards and are applied to Void Stones. When you use one on a Void Stone, it affects your whole Atlas. Because Void Stones come from the highest tier content, we've removed Simple Sextants and Prime Sextants, as they can no longer be used when you would typically acquire them. We've added the mods from these Sextants to the pool of mods that Awakened Sextants have. Because this dilutes the pool of mods that Awakened Sextants can roll, we've increased the frequency at which you acquire Awakened Sextants. Your existing Simple and Prime Sextants will be converted to Awakened Sextants at the launch of Siege of the Atlas. We have made no changes to Elevated Sextants. With the new Atlas system as context, we have done a balanced pass of all Sextant mods. This resulted in a slight reduction to the amount of content or monsters that a given Sextant mod introduces to an area. We've removed the Nemesis Monsters Drop 3 additional currency items mod, both because it's busted, and because it's incompatible with our future plans for the Arch Nemesis League content. We've also added a whole bunch of new Sextant modifiers.
Please tell me people are saying busted.
The general intention behind
it is busted
is to give a strong benefit while adding extra difficulty, or reward players for specializing into having other leagues present in an area. For example, there's a Sextant mod that ensures that all breaches in an area belong to Chayula. So if you can maximize the number of breaches through Scarabs, map device modifiers, the Atlas passive tree, or other Sextants, then you've got a whole bunch of valuable Chayula breaches in that map. With the removal of watchstones, players would have lost the ability to swap in and out watchstones with different sextant modifiers on them depending on which maps they were running. We like the strategic use of sextants, so we have reintroduced this behavior with a new currency item called the Surveyor's Compass. This can be applied to a void stone with a sextant mod on it to itemize that sextant mod for later use or trade. This currency item drops periodically and is also sold by Kirik for 1 Chaos Orb, similar to how Einhar sells Bestiary Orbs. There's no limit on how many you can purchase. With Zana gone, you may be wondering what is happening to her Atlas missions. Well, Kirik is taking over from her, but it works a little differently now. Kirik has assumed the position of commander, and he has important missions for you to carry out in the Atlas. You open these missions at your map device and can run them just like before. However, you won't encounter Kirik inside a map, and you won't be able to apply Kirik objectives to a map itself. Because of this, we have raised the chance that you receive a Kirik Atlas objective when you defeat a map boss. Previously, Zana's missions had completion objectives, but with the removal of the favor system, this stopped mattering. Instead of focusing on completion, Kirik missions now focus more on rewards, and so their purpose is to provide you with additional League content or extra item drops.
I like that.
Instead of your free daily mission being based on the last map you've completed, it's now based on the highest tier map you've completed in this current league. For example, if you completed a tier 16 map, your daily missions will always be high tier maps. Kirik missions can now include additional content like Conquerors, Ritual Encounters, Expedition Encounters, and even Monstrous Treasure, the former prophecy that makes an area contain 24 to 36 additional strongboxes with no natural monster inhabitants. Kirik now sells you maps, much like Zana did in the past, except there is now a wider variety of outcomes with variance on the prices, so you should probably go and check what he's selling more frequently in case there's a good deal. The items in the window are re-rolled under the same conditions as Zana's previous shop. Kirik can sell maps that come with implicit mods enabling various content, for example, a map that always has a Legion encounter, or maps that have varying degrees of deliriousness on them. As you play through maps, you'll occasionally find Atlas scouting reports, essentially communication about important missions from other people who scouted the Atlas and didn't survive. These items can be used like a currency item to re-roll the set of mission maps that Kirik is offering you. These new maps have a different set of mission outcomes that includes valuable ones like guaranteeing a unique map, having all maps be corrupted, always including a Shaper Guardian, Elder Guardian, or Conqueror, having only uncompleted maps available, or adding a Breach Stone to the selection. The value here is not only the reroll of what is offered to you, but also the guarantee of one or more high-value missions. On the Atlas passive tree, you can specialize into finding more Atlas scouting reports or unlocking new types that can drop. Kirik also sells the aforementioned Surveyor's Compass used to itemize sextant mods, as well as everything else Zana previously sold, like specific divination cards. Despite them not being part of the core Atlas experience anymore, it's still possible to fight Cirrus and the Conquerors to take advantage of their influence and unique item rewards. Tier 14 or higher map bosses now have a chance to drop maps influenced by the Shaper, the Elder, or a random Conqueror. You can also purchase these maps from Kirik. When you enter the map, you'll be met with hordes of influenced monsters that can drop influenced items. Upon defeating the map boss, a portal will open to the Conqueror's arena. Upon death, the Conqueror will drop a fragment. Each Conqueror has their own fragment. Combine all 4 fragments in your map device to open a set of portals to the Cirrus encounter.
Got it.
As it's now harder to get influenced items, we've moved plus level gem modifiers into the global mod pool for amulets. So it's now possible to get the powerful +2 levels to certain gems without having to use influenced amulets.
Oh wow. That's
now
OP.
that Cirrus and the Conquerors are no longer core parts of Atlas gameplay, they will not drop awakened gems. These gems can now drop from Maven invitations. Arch Nemesis is a challenge league that reinvigorates fights with rare monsters. It introduces around 60 new monster mods and allows you to customize your rare boss fights to control your level of risk and reward. These mods can be combined in over 35 recipes to create new, more powerful and rewarding mods. As you play through the league, you'll discover more recipes and learn how to best utilize them to get the most valuable rewards. When you slay regular rare and magic monsters in the Arch Nemesis League, they sometimes drop an itemized version of a new Arch Nemesis monster modifier. You store these in a dedicated inventory panel so they don't clutter your regular inventory. Over the course of each area you play, you'll encounter 4 monsters that are frozen in place, petrified, and bound to an Arch Nemesis statue. When you find such a monster, you can free it by empowering it with an Arch Nemesis mod. If you're able to successfully defeat the empowered monster, then you will receive the fixed reward that corresponds to that modifier. The trick that makes this league awesome is the 4 petrified monsters per area. You see, the mods you apply will accumulate as you play through the area. When you empower your second monster, it also has the mod you applied to the first monster. This results in a fight that has twice as many dangerous mods and twice as many rewards. Even though you receive the reward from the first mod when you killed the first petrified monster, you receive a second reward of that type when you kill the second petrified monster.
Oh, nice.
The same applies to the third and fourth fights in the area as well. By the time you defeat the fourth monster, you'll have received the first reward 4 times, the second reward 3 times, and so on. Take care when picking what order you consume your mods so that you can maximize your rewards. More than half of the available mods are created by combining other mods together on the same monster. As an example of how this works, if you apply both Incendiary and Hasted to the same monster, then in addition to the rewards that these 2 mods grant, you will also receive an itemized Flamewalker mod upon killing the monster. This can then be applied to another petrified monster later on to complete further recipes. These recipe mods yield substantially more dangerous encounters and have more valuable rewards. Even if you're not completing a recipe with your modifiers, you can still combine them to get some ridiculous combinations of rewards. For example, defeating an Innocence Touched enemy grants 3 currency rewards and converts all other rewards into currency. Defeating a Mirror Image enemy grants a Divination card reward and rerolls all rewards 3 times, yielding the rarest result. Killing a Flamewalker enemy grants 3 weapon rewards. Killing a Toxic enemy grants a generic reward plus a gem reward. If you were to kill an enemy with all 4 modifiers, you get a total of 9 currency rewards, each rolled 3 times and dropping the best result. But if you apply the mods in the order mentioned above, then as you kill each of the 4 monsters in the area, you'll receive the earlier rewards multiple times. The end result is the equivalent of getting 60 currency rewards and receiving the best 20 plus 3 regular currency rewards.
Wow.
As you can see from this example, even the basic rewards that offer say 3 random weapons are really useful because you can combine them with reward conversion mods to take advantage of their high item counts. We're looking forward to seeing what other types of crazy ways you manage to combine your arch-nemesis rewards. To prevent you having to backtrack, there are more than 4 possible locations where you may encounter petrified monsters in each area, but only the first 4 you encounter can be empowered and fought. Arch-nemesis mods cannot be traded with other players. Your progress is your own. We designed this league to be a relatively simple one to go alongside all of the new Atlas content in this expansion, and it exceeded our expectations. The fights are fun, the rewards are punchy, and there are a lot of tough decisions about which reward combinations or recipes you can pursue.
Interesting.
In Siege of the Atlas, our balance goal is to take 2 very common gameplay archetypes that struggle with endgame content and to buff them so that they're in a much better place compared to other builds. The ones we are targeting are hit damage bow characters and handcasting spellcasters. If you haven't checked out the balance manifesto about these changes that we posted recently, I'd encourage you to read all about them in the patch notes that will be posted when the livestream ends. To be clear, this expansion does have a few of the usual nerfs to the most overperforming builds, but for the most part, the majority of balance changes are buffs. The goal is that players who play hit damage bow builds and handcasting spellcasters are significantly more competitive. Alongside
Nice.
Siege of the Atlas, we're introducing 2 new types of Stash Tab, one for flasks and one for gems. A side effect of this is that you're able to set your regular tabs to have affinity for flasks or gems, regardless of whether you've purchased the new specialized tabs. The Gem Stash tab allows you to easily store and sort your collection of up to 500 skill and support gems. By default, it displays all gems stored in the tab, but you can use one of the 4 categories at the top to filter between red, green, blue, and white gems. There's a drop-down that allows you to pick your preferred sorting method, such as current gem level, required level, or quality, to easily find whatever gem you're looking for. The Flask Stash tab allows you to store 500 flasks and can be filtered to show life, mana, hybrid, utility, and unique flasks. You can also use the drop-down to change the sort order between item level, base type, and quality. This allows you to quickly find flasks of a certain type, potential flasks to vendor for glassblowers baubles, or high item level flasks for crafting. Remember that regardless of whether you've purchased these new tabs, you'll still be able to set up affinities for gems or flasks on your existing stash tabs. Alongside the launch of Siege of the Atlas, we are hosting a competitive event where players will race to be the first to kill a trio of bosses: the Maven, the Searing Exarch, and the Eater of Worlds. The event will take place in the hardcore solo self-found Arch-Nemesis League. We have some interesting prizes in store for the winners: Keep an eye on the news next week for more details about how this event will work and what its prizes are. We're almost at the Q&A, but first I'd like to show you the new supporter packs we're releasing today to help fund development of future Path of Exile expansions. Our new packs are called the Worm and Emberkeep supporter packs.
Nice. I don't know if I'd get any of those two.
Like our recent League packs, there are 3 tiers available, each of which include points equivalent to the cost of the pack, plus many exclusive cosmetic
Ooh, actually, that looks nice.
Effects,
I like those wings.
Armor sets, weapon skins, forum badges, titles, and social frames. The Worm series comes with an exclusive pet, and the Emberkeep series comes with an exclusive weapon effect.
Ooh.
These new packs are in addition to the 2022 core packs that we released recently. Remember to check those out if you haven't already.
Wow, okay.
That concludes the reveal portion of this livestream. Keep an eye on our news next week as we unveil more details about the Siege of the Atlas expansion and the Arch Nemesis League. In the meantime, these reveals are already live on YouTube for you to link to your friends in case they missed the livestream. Please spread the word, and join us as we explore the Atlas alongside you next week.
Nice.
It's now time for the Q&A. If you have any questions about what we've shown you today, please get them ready because I'm about to be joined by Ziggy D as we answer your questions from Twitch chat, and after that, we'll be posting the full Path of Exile Siege of the Atlas patch notes.
Nice. I'm going to pause it here. So, that's a lot of good things. I'm really interested now. One of the things that I didn't mention, that they mentioned in here that I was really hyped about as soon as they said it, was the change to the Atlas once more. One of my favorite Atlases was back when I was playing in Abyss League, where essentially you start from the edges, the sides of the map, and you move your way into the middle to fight the 4 main bosses in the map. I loved that style of play, but my only issue with that style of play was that I can never ever level up my map as I played. So essentially they're making it back to the original how that worked out. So you go to the edges of the map in a sense, and then you spread back into the middle to fight the bosses in the middle. However, the difference is the entire map is being sieged, and you start from the bottom and you guide yourself up to the higher tier maps. I think that's really good. And I like the fact that you can upgrade everything as you go. So I do like that. I think that is probably the best change that I've seen so far. That Path of Exile's done. That is needed. That is hella needed, because this whole Watchstone crap, I did not like that Watchstone crap when they first released it. I just thought it was garbage, in my opinion. So, yeah, I did not like it. So I'm glad that this was changed as necessary. Another thing I didn't like with the Watchstone stuff is that with specific areas that you went to, you can only farm up certain things in those specific areas. I did not like that whatsoever. I thought that was just the worst idea. So, like, as an example, if you're playing... I can even pull up the game just to kind of show you what I was talking about. But if you're playing in Eldritch Cairn, that place is, like, really good for... shit. I can't remember off the top of my head. I would have to literally, like, pull up shit. Eldritch Cairn. That place was good for farming. That place was good for farming up legions. That was the main legion area. I was gonna say legions, but I didn't know if it was the Delirious or the Legion one, right? So what they did essentially now is they have an entire tree built on just the current Atlas itself. Every single map that you play, you gain a new skill point whenever you complete the bonus objective. Jesus, fucking bots, man. I love these bots. Every single map that you complete, you get pretty much an extra tier for the map. And if you complete the bonus objective, you get a stat that you can put into that tree. And the more stats that you get is just like the main stats that you get on your characters. The more passives that you can put into the Atlas itself, and allowing you to pretty much customize your Atlas to however you want it to be. I like that idea better than having to go and run Maven. Maven's not a bad thing. I do like the idea of Maven. But I don't like how you're forced with the current style, how the game's played currently. I do not like the fact that you have to go and fight Maven. Let's say you have to do the first boss fight, so you have to kill 3 bosses just to get to a Maven invitation. Then you have to go fight Maven. Once you fight Maven and kill it, then you get 2 passive skill points that you put towards pretty powerful stats, but they're not like the most OP stats. They're just powerful enough, and it's only for that specific area. So, and since there's 4 areas currently in the current map, that's kind of really annoying, in my opinion. Because then you just have to like farm up literally Maven so many times just to get bonuses in your certain area. It was really annoying. It was really annoying, and I did not like it. So I'm glad to see that they've recognized that there was an issue with the Atlas for a lot of people, so they could be able to fix it.
You slipped some new stuff in there as well, like such as patch notes coming right after this time as well. So you guys are ready. You guys are ready.
Yeah. It really helps having to write up a lot of the patch notes for the balance manifesto in advance. That means there's a lot of other stuff obviously, but it's doable.
So early manifesto also means early patch notes. I thought early manifesto meant lots of early nerfs, but only a couple this time around.
And it also means early development, which is great as well.
That is very good. All right, well, we'll kick things off with the new Pinnacle content and Atlas of Worlds changes. That is the big focus of this expansion, a big end game update. And I have to say, the design of the new Eldritch bosses looks awesome, very creepy. Are the Searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds being placed? Where are they being placed in challenge level related to the Maven? Are they above her or below her?
So the goal is that they're slightly more challenging. We do want to keep pushing the boundaries there. It's not massively so, but a key thing here is that you can roll the some mods on the keys that give you access to them once you've killed them for the first time. So after like the quest completion of it, you then get the ability to farm them, and that involves itemized versions of the maps. And because you can roll mods, of course, it lets you punch up the challenge and reward quite a lot higher than you would otherwise be able to do in any other fight. So it should be very interesting to see how that goes.
That's interesting. How does the rewards scale with changing that, with having like a rare version of them?
So my understanding is that the mods can increase the rewards in traditional ways with regard to increasing quantity of drops, but I'll just double check to see if there's any other special stuff. So I'm going to do the dev check emoji.
Oh, that's a record for dev check, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right off the bat.
So basically, Quant will scale all of their special drops as well. So whatever they're getting in terms of, uniques and currency that you want, you just scale it as hard as you can.
Ah, that's good, because it doesn't always scale those like special specific drops, but it sounds like it does in this case.
I think there's a specific note on the item that mentions that quantity affects it, which helps in this case. It will hopefully make it clear.
I remember that Maven was initially pitched at being like the highest level boss fight, so now we've got another tier above that. And then with craftable makes these fights tend to be a lot harder with the right combinations of modifiers.
What you'll probably find, you'll probably find that if you play the fight without scaling it at all, like completely default settings, it's probably easier than the fixed Maven difficulty. But the average way that players are going to experience it with a comfortable level of juicedness is probably a bit punchier.
Okay, that's good then. That gives a bit of range. But also there's the underling bosses as well, which it sounds like you're encountering much more frequently.
Yeah, you get them on the way through the quest progression and also on the way to doing the farm cycle. So they're easier, of course. They still drop good end-game stuff, but just not quite as good as the absolute pinnacle ones do.
Do the new bosses have any memory games? Because I'm not very good at those.
I hear players love those. Now, we'll have to say, I honestly can't remember if there's a memory game.
Oh, no.
I passed that one.
Very good.
Oh, Jesus.
So the Atlas has undergone like a ton of iterations now at this point, adding more complexity in some areas and depth, whereas it's been slimming things down in other areas. What have you guys learned from previous iterations of the Atlas so far, and how has this shaped the new generation that we're getting now?
This is kind of a very standard game design lesson, but simplicity and understandability matters, but you also don't want to lose any depth. And so, to some extent, like what we did with Path of Exile 2's skill gem system, is we've tried to make this more approachable, right? Like when you look at the Atlas now, it's simple. There are just a bunch of maps. You work from bottom to top, on fighting harder maps, and you don't have to worry about regions. You don't have to worry about repeating work or chasing conquerors around. It's quite straightforward. Yep. You don't have to understand the complexities of the watchstones, because the new voidstones are so much simpler. You just stick them in as you get them, pretty much. And so at face value, it takes away a lot of the stuff that was hard for players to understand and annoying for players who did understand it. But then in return, we didn't want to lose any depth. And so we jammed it all in the passive tree. And so there's a lot of stuff there. But players who get that far in Path of Exile are very used to passive trees and understanding the type of opportunity cost and the decisions they're making. So it actually plays really well. And you can interact with a passive tree at so much earlier. In fact, so much of the rewards of the Atlas now were pushed really early in terms of you getting Eldritch Implicits and getting to fight bosses and getting, good Atlas tree completion far, far earlier than before. Because we felt and agreed with players who were saying that previously it kind of felt like the end game starts at the end of the end game.
Yeah, that's like I feel like you really hit two things this time that
I
was
like that.
super interested in seeing in the Atlas. So I'm glad to hear you say that, because it's the slimming down of the core progression system. So now you just kind of run maps from 1 to 16 as the core progression, right? Like you don't have to do any complicated steps of moving watchstones and chasing influence
Finally.
and all that sort of stuff to do the core progression. So that's much simplified now.
Yes.
There's not like any secret hoops there or anything you have to jump through, right?
Right, it's very simple. And the other thing is there's now 3 Atlas quest progressions that you can progress at your own pace. You've got 2 different new Eldritch Horrors to chase with their sub-bosses, and you've got the Maven. And you can focus on one or all 3 or whatever you want to do. There's no penalty for not doing one. It's just a matter of which content and rewards you want to get.
So that's a good question then. Kind of where is Maven's position now in this whole progression system? Because before you had to constantly be witnessing bosses to get unlocked the passive tree. And my understanding is she still gives you some passives, but predominantly those passives come from just completing the bonus objectives on the maps themselves. Like I imagine 100 of those come from those, and then the remaining 17 from boss fights and Maven and whatnot. So where does she kind of sit now?
Right, in terms of the passive, so 117 come from completing maps, and then there's an additional 15 bonus points. So 11 are from the Maven encounters. So that's her primary purpose there, is giving you a bunch of points. And 5 of them are from the standard invitations. 6 of them are from the invitations that were previously called the Uncharted Realms encounters. There's also 4 more points that you get from the new siege bosses. So the 4 guys, the Searing Exarch, the Eater of Worlds, the Black Star, and the Infinite Hunger all have a point each upon the time that you kill them the first time. And the Maven also has a more defined role in terms of itemizations. She's now the source for awakened gems, which of course are as powerful as they always have. Yeah, that's a complete lie. They're less powerful than they always have been, but as powerful as they were last league. Getting carried away with the marketing there. She also drops the Orb of Conflict, which of course is really important for the Eldritch mod crafting. So if you're wanting to perfect your Eldritch Implicits, you're going to need to fight all 3 bosses so you can get A and B and the thing that lets you get one of them to the highest tier.
She's like some weird neutral third party then. She drops the Orb of Conflict. She's kind of like overseeing the conflict between the others.
Yeah. Well, that's her thing, is she wants to witness conflict. It's her...
It makes sense. Yeah, and we kicked her in the shins a bunch of times, and now our families showed up to wreck us. So that's awesome. Okay, well, that answers a bunch of my questions. I really like that shifting of the complexity over to the passive tree away from the core progression. Is there much reason to use Maven witnessing boss fights early on then, or is it mostly just if you want to try and get some of those passives early, or some of those awakened gems potentially?
It's good for you to get passives as fast as you can, because they will make it faster for you to play through content implicitly. It increases the rate you're getting rewards and so on. So I suspect players will choose to do it as soon as they're capable of doing it. Of course, as we know, those fights aren't super easy, so people will find the right place for it.
How do we respec the Atlas passive now? With so many passives, I imagine the
that's a good question.
Has to be made a lot more common.
Yeah, it's been moved to the core drop pool, basically, so you find orbs when making it a better pace. And yeah, I mean, like all things in Path of Exile, you can fix your mistakes. It's just a pain to do so on a large scale. So we're not expecting people to change their Atlas loadout between maps, but they'll find something that works well for them. And the nice thing, of course, now is it applies to every map on the Atlas, so you don't have to ignore 3/4 of them because they don't have some specific thing you've specialized in.
I'm gonna ruin chat, by the way, and just say I just got my drop. Thanks. I have a question about co-op progression this time around. Has anything kind of changed there? Can both players unlock their skill tree passives?
Did I get my drop? That's the question.
It was kind of a half and half sort
of.
Oh,
come on.
The old Atlas system where you could unlock some map progression, but a lot of the stuff was not, wouldn't work in co-op effectively.
My understanding is that
so dumb.
The stuff,
I haven't got my drop
the
yet.
right quest state, all of the quest stuff will unlock for everyone in the party. And of course, if you're in a map when it gets completed, and you'd normally get a bonus completion for that, then you do get the completion here. So yeah, I'm unaware of any issues playing through in co-op, and that's something we're trying to be very mindful of. We don't want to, cause problems for people that want to play through the entire game as a party, and that even applies to Arch Nemesis and so on. We're trying to not repeat mistakes from the past where some leagues don't work in co-op.
That's very promising. Yeah, you guys have been getting better with co-op implementation of stuff, which is good because I've been co-oping every league start now, so it's good to see that. Do you imagine that even like boss fights and stuff will unlock co-op progression? Because I know some of that stuff has been turned off a little bit in the past because it was potentially abusable.
Yeah, we have to stop the abuse cases because we don't want a system where, like, at the moment, if you want to play Path of Exile alone or with friends who aren't in your instance, just chatting to them while you're playing, this works. You can have a great experience. You know, there's no reason why you absolutely have to bring friends to Path of Exile. Of course, it's good for social reasons, but games that allow abuse get to this situation where you're either kind of forcing yourself to only play when your friends are playing, or sitting there with 6 Path of Exile clients open doing complicated stuff that isn't actually playing the game. And so that's the reason why we curb the abuse there. But where possible, we want to allow it so that it works well for legitimate groups of players.
Gotcha. One final question before we move to a couple of your questions on this particular topic area. Where's Zana going? Kirek said that she's going into Exile, except we're exiles, so shouldn't she be staying with us?
We're not going to give any more info on that. Players can hopefully work it out over time, like, you know.
Oh, no.
Out. So all will be revealed in the future.
More seriously, though, like a lot of people like Zana. Is there some potential that we'll be seeing more in the future then?
I'm gonna play a bit coy on that one. We'll see. I mean, we're not just gonna forget about it.
That's a definite yes, chat.
I mean,
she's a great little plot thing that can be thrown in somewhere. Why would you waste that?
They're killing off
You need not
Zana.
say more. All right, we have a couple of viewers from chats. Joe Bobs asks, are Atlas passive allocations per character or account?
These are per account, I believe. So it's we call this per league account, basically. So on your account, you have a separate allocation for hardcore versus the main standard league and so on and so on.
Awesome. It's Kusa asks, how will Awakener level work on Cyrus keys? Will it be Awakener 1 difficulty and rewards?
Oh, this is a good one for the dev check, guys.
Oh, 2 dev checks.
It's Awakener level 8.
Okay,
The fun
wow.
one.
Yep. That's kind of what happened with the recent change as well, right? Like it shifted upwards like that.
May as well have it be hard.
Yeah, may as well. Especially now that it's not like core content. It's chase content for you to do later on, potentially.
Yeah, the Conqueror stuff is pretty optional.
That's a good follow-up then. Not Lime this asks, can we witness Conquerors? In all caps, by the way. They're excited about this.
Caps, can we witness Conquerors? Yeah, you can.
You can. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So that means potentially a new boss fight.
Okay.
For Maven. Ooh, okay. What happens to the unique watchstones? Nobus asks.
4.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we just eradicated. And yeah, all watchstones are gone.
So that strips a couple of things from Cyrus as well. Is there any like buff to his loot drops or anything to compensate, or just?
Cyrus still has good stuff, right?
He does,
5.
he does.
They're nodding like, of course he has good stuff.
And another question, which I don't have a name for, seems like a lot of currency or bloat. Can you explain what currency was chosen as solutions this time around?
Well, the key thing about currency is that it's tradable. And tradable means that if you do not know how to use it, or you don't have a good opportunity to use it, you're able to trade it to someone else who does better. And so you can get these Eldritch, orbs and essentially just say, I give up, someone else make my items for me, and trade them and get a direct item that you want. You hand someone a pile of this currency, they hand you a finished item, essentially. Is how trade works.
I've never thought of trade like that, but it kind of works.
Here's the thing, I mean, obviously, the smart thing to do is to do it yourself and make your best items and not have someone else make a profit on it, of course. But for players who do not want to engage in that for whatever reason, they can trade. And it also means if you've got some of one, but you actually want Searing Exarch ones, you can trade them with the other person and so on.
We'll transition now into that whole Eldritch crafting topic. But it seems like we're getting a little bit of Harvest-esque stuff here, some Harvest-inspired things in these Eldritch currencies, particularly with the Chaos Orb, rerolling prefixes or suffixes, annulling prefixes or suffixes, exalting prefixes or suffixes. It's less targeted than some Harvest stuff, but it's kind of in that line. So are you guys excited to move in that direction a little bit with this?
This is a safe way of us doing it. It lets us have these powerful orbs. I mean, I should emphasize they're not easy to get, right? Like, you know, we're talking like special exalts here. They're obviously going to be rarer than regular exalts. And so it's a way that we're pretty comfortable because it does require some manipulation of what you're doing with the tiers of the implicit mods. And, you know, it's baking in a little bit of meta crafting, but done in a much more safe way that's not quite so combinable with other crazy stuff. So we're more comfortable with this. And it's actually quite a lot of fun to craft items this way.
Yeah, I get it. You kind of limit tested with Harvest. My dream is to like have later you guys add a little step where you can like infuse these orbs with specific target,
Oh, Jesus.
modifier like fire or something like that by killing a
They're
specific
getting really
valuable
in-depth
boss or
here.
something like that. But anyway, I'm just
Ziggy.
excited. Anyways, a couple questions. So are there any risks or major downsides to the new Eldritch implicit crafting system aside from potentially replacing an existing implicit? So like, can you break an item at all?
No, there's no way to break an item. We've basically designed it so that as long as you're okay to replace the implicit that's on something, which is what you just hinted at, then it's generally strictly better. I mean, there might be border cases where having a mod on an item is bad for your build because you really don't want to set things on fire or whatever it is, but other than that, it's always helping your item.
So this is a big contrast from like corruption and just Scourge that we just had. Is this like a progression of the experiments from that system, playing with implicits in this way?
So the main goal here is that you're able to progress your implicits at the same time.
Uh-oh.
You're progressing your explicit mods on an item. We didn't want a thing where you have to like
Hey,
craft
I
a
got
finished
it.
item and then have a one-shot go at getting the implicits like corruption. Nor did we want
Go.
something where if you find a perfect item on the ground, you're screwed to get the implicits that you want. And so if you find an amazing
Let's
rare
go.
item, you through whatever means, you're able to then make it with amazing implicits on it. And you also won't feel bad putting a lesser implicit. Like if you just get an orb and put an implicit on it, it makes the item better, and you can totally replace that and upgrade it later. There's no problem as you're playing through maps randomly adding implicits to your items, because eventually you can still get the same item into the right place later on.
Random clarification: when you use one of the orbs to increase the tier of the affix, if I'm understanding that correctly, the implicit, does it change what implicit that is, or does it just increase its tier?
Yeah, it does re-roll. So
Okay.
there are 4 currency items, and this is super complicated because the word tier, like tier 1 implies the best, right? But when I say higher tier, I'm referring to like tier 1 being the lowest. So we're just going to use clearer language. There are 6 ranks of each mod, 1 through 6. The first one, the lowest one, comes from the lowest currency item. That drops in all maps. And then the second 2 will drop from influenced monsters and influenced maps. And the fourth one, which is the highest you can get from a currency item, drops from the big bosses. There are 2 ranks above that, which cannot be rolled from currency. Those must only be upgraded to with an Orb of Conflict. Whenever you apply one of these orbs to the item, it picks a random mod from the pool and applies it. So you may get something that isn't the one you want. You do have to spam the currency a bit if you were looking for a specific mod.
Yep.
But there's no downside to that. It's not corrupting your item. Aside from the wealth investment that you're making in the item and the ease of trading or finding them, it's entirely just a matter of sinking wealth into the item to get exactly what you're wanting. And in return, of course, they're blindingly powerful. But then once you have the mods that you're wanting, the Orb of Conflict will upgrade and lower them. Sure, you may get a lowering that you don't want, and that wastes some time or resources, but that mod is then fixed in place as that type that's being upgraded or lowered. So in practice, it's a pretty fun system to actually play with currency.
That's interesting because that's pretty different to a lot of crafting in Path of Exile, where there's no real lose case where your previous investment in the item is ruined, but rather the only risk is, well, how much do I have to spend to get the thing that I want this time around? So is that kind of like an intentional decision then to have it be quite different in that way?
It certainly is. It'll create a situation where you're lucky with your rank 3 mod that you get on an item. It's perfect. You love this one. You'd like a rank 4 version, though, but applying the rank 4 thing is potentially going to take a bunch of them to get the same mod, because, the pool's got a bunch of diversity in there.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you could use an Orb of Conflict for this, because you've basically got a 50% chance that you get rank 4 out of it, and so people are going to have to make some decisions. And that's what games are.
Decisions. That's what games are. So good games are. I like it.
Clicking and decisions.
Yes, clicking and decisions. Can you craft the Eldritch implicits on unique items as well?
No.
Ah, okay. So, and this is only for helmets, boots, gloves, body armor. So just for armor
Yes, that's
pieces
correct.
currently.
Yeah. I mean, this may gradually expand in the future, but for the time being, this is what we're comfortable with, and honestly, it's quite a lot of power, so it's probably going to be enough for now.
Well, that's a +1 to the chase for rare items in these slots, and on the comparison table between a rare and unique for each slot, has to be considered now, especially since they are effectively low risk to add some power to an item. So that's rather interesting.
That's ideally what you want, is that uniques are kind of guaranteed power, and then rares have the potential to be better, and this helps achieve that.
So the implicits aren't going to have item level requirements. But will using them on a low level item affect their like required level? Can these be used for
Yeah.
leveling characters, for
So
example?
basically, if you were to put one on a low level item, it punches the required level up to something stratospheric that's in maps, because these are like, flat fire damage to all spells and that kind of thing, right?
Okay.
It would clear the campaign pretty efficiently otherwise.
I
But
see.
what we meant by this is it can be applied to any eye level of item, right?
Yeah.
So you could technically apply it to a low level item if you chose to. You just wouldn't be able to use it unless you're on your high character.
Yeah, you find like a
And
really
like
good
you said-
pair of boots at level 50 or something. You can
Yeah,
still
and this is
use
like
those.
68 plus or whatever. It's not like, insanity high.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
that makes sense. I imagine it's like map level 68 required. Got it. Ben the Muffin Man asks, can you get a third implicit by corrupting an item that has 2 Eldritch implicits already?
My understanding is that corrupting the item will remove the existing implicits and put the random corrupted one on. That's correct, right, guys? Yep. So yes, if you want to corrupt an item, get a corrupted implicit, you'll lose all your hard work on the Eldritch implicits. But as you mentioned, Eldritch implicits cannot be placed on uniques, and so corruption still has a very valid place there.
Got it. Okay. Moving on to Arch Nemesis, the League. Why is it called Arch Nemesis?
Well, Nemesis was really the only time we've actually worked on improving how rare monsters work. A very long time ago, we said, you know what, let's add some mods to the pool. And Arch Nemesis is the second time that we're working on improving rare monsters, and it's also a really cool sounding name. Like, there was no debate when we're having our brainstorming session for names, right? Someone said Arch Nemesis, and people kind of drifted out of the room and started typing it in their documents. And you know what I mean? Like, it just ended at that point. We all knew that was the name.
It was just decided collaboratively.
It is not on the metal band list, but that doesn't mean that it can't be.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be.
We need people in the community to make metal bands called Arch Nemesis.
There probably is one out there for sure, right? There's gotta be. It's a solid name. But I was like, so what are the Arch Nemesis monsters there? Because I see there's like a statue, and then there's a rare monster chained to the statue. So the rare monster is the thing we're fighting, not the
That's right.
statue. The statue is the thing they're chained to. Okay.
When we spawn an area, we pick a bunch of rares, or adding rares to the area, of course, because we don't want to take your rares away. And we basically get some rare monsters from a disparate set of types where possible. So it's a variety of rares that can spawn in that area. Chain them to statues, and we spawn more than you need. We want you to be having the ability to do 4, but we don't want a situation where the 4th one is hiding around some corner somewhere you didn't explore. And so we spawn like, I can't remember the number, like 6 of these or something like that. I failed the memory game again. And we spawn like 6 of them so that as you play through the area, you'll probably encounter all 4 without having to backtrack. Only the first 4 work, but basically empowering one of those monsters will let you fight that rare, and of course it'll have quite a big fight associated with it. Some of those mods do some pretty crazy stuff.
That sounds like new tech.
Interesting.
Kind of the idea of like having a bunch of spawn points pre-plotted out and then only using the 4 that you come across first, right?
Yeah, the level team have been doing some good work over the last few years at adding the ability for us to do fun stuff like this. Inserting things into levels, having like the ability to have like flow graphs of where players can move around the level, and we can predict where we'll be early in a level versus late in a level to spawn stuff, for like delirium mirrors and so on.
It's kind of big because, like you said, it prevents backtracking, which is a big deal, making that like core gameplay loop feel better.
Yeah.
It's great news.
But yes, to answer your question, the Arch Nemesis monster is the petrified rare that's attached to the statue.
Okay. I feel like there's some secret with the statue, but I might be reading too much into this. It's just because Arch Nemesis means like the main nemesis is my understanding of the definition. So I'm kind of wondering who is the main nemesis. Anyway, I'm just theory crafting, being suspicious. Arch Nemesis modifier goober things have their own inventory menu for storage, which is certainly a nice improvement over other similar mechanics in the past. Well done. However, when you click them, do they automatically go straight to that menu since they aren't tradable anyway?
That's correct. They automatically go there. You don't need to go through the inventory. We should also talk about clicking here, because we have spent 13 weeks preparing for today, where players are going to say, but these don't auto pick up. Do you not learn? Like, they're going to be sitting there scratching their head going, seriously, GGG, we've told you by now it's auto pick up or nothing, right? So we've been prepared for this. You don't have to find very many of these per area. It is usually around 2, right? And I know in the past I've said that expedition stuff didn't auto pick up because you don't find many, and then when you could actually play it scales to like 16 in the crazy juice maps, and yes, that is too many. These mods don't scale. You're finding like 2, maybe 3, but I'm wanting this to be 2 ideally. And so yes, you'll have to probably click twice per area. The thing is,
Too many.
the inventory space, while large, is not completely unlimited, right? Like, there are cases where auto pickup would be annoying. And so we've actually also identified the fact that we need to give more inventory space, which is present in the footage you've seen, where we've increased it to an 8x8 inventory, giving you plenty. In all of our internal testing until like literally 3 days ago, it was a 5x5 inventory, having this awesome constraint thing where players are like frustrated at having to choose what they're carrying around and make decisions, and we love decisions. But at the end of the day, we realized that would not be popular, and so we've significantly increased the space up to 64 slots, which should be plenty. And if you're lucky, you'll find there may even be footage of the 5x5 inventory floating around the internet, because the B-roll footage we gave to journalists earlier this week was still when it was 5x5. And so we had to refilm the entire Arch Nemesis section of the live stream at the last minute with a new 8x8 inventory so that people don't melt down about the limited amount of space there.
Nice. Well, I often disagree with you on this topic in some capacity, but I will give you that this time it sounds like it's a good case for us manually picking these up, given that
People are
you
gonna
don't
complain.
necessarily want all of them.
I love
You
Chris,
wanna be
he's
a little
funny.
bit choosy with them,
Such a
maybe.
meme.
And it really is like 2 per area that you'll find. And if it's something where you're well into deep, complicated recipes, 4 tiers deep, and then the most common thing ever drops, you're probably not going to want to pick that one up. In addition, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, we are supporting filtering of these. Yeah, you can interact with them with loop filters, and that means that someone will quickly work out what the valuable ones are and make it so people understand whether they even need to make the 2 clicks or not. I'd recommend it during the campaign because you need the reagents to climb the higher recipes, and even the bad ones that give you like some, triple weapon reward or something that you don't necessarily value will be very important to bolster up the complicated recipes that rely on reward conversion later on. So it's not as obvious as there being good or bad mods, but there are certainly cases where you've already got 7 of something and you don't need an 8th.
Okay. A couple follow-up questions. So you said you're aiming this at being like 2 clicks per zone, which is not too many clicks. But I noticed that you need to spend 4 of them per zone. How's the economy of that work out? Are you intended
you
to
won't-
not always
yeah.
juice them?
You're going to want to save up for recipes and have a plan. So if you have a completed recipe, you may as well use it when you find the statues in an area. Some of the recipes have up to 4 components. Some of the recipes have just 2. There are cases where you're not completing a recipe, but you're spending mods because you may as well, or you want to, or you've come up with some cool reward combination. But generally speaking, when you're playing through, you don't necessarily feel the need to want to juice out every single statue that you find. You're doing it often enough. Like every second area, you'll probably do a very complicated fight. And for some players, they'll spend their 2 in every area if they're doing simple recipes. But yeah, it's okay to find one where you don't have a mod in order to unlock the monster, because there will be plenty more later on.
Interesting.
Okay. For the people that want to hoard, can you pick them up and put them in your regular inventory and stash and things like that as well?
They must stay there, and that's why we increased the count from 25 slots to 64. And this is a surplus now. It's fine, but yes, people who wanted to hoard were having problems at 25, which is something we decided not to have a day one Reddit thread of do they not think, and so we decided to think about that one beforehand.
So you've got 2 angles here. They're non-tradable, and you've got to use them or lose them. So use the mechanic, right? Use the.
This isn't clear from the footage because we're still
Yeah.
working on the UI for it, but they do have levels that affect the item you get out. You know, when you're getting like beasts in bestiary and the item level of the output is related to the inputs and that kind of stuff, it's the same here. If you find one in, the mudflats as you're playing through the campaign, and you think, I'm going to be smart and save that for maps because that's going to be a component to when I get really good uniques or something. No, it's locked at being relatively low level. So you want to be spending them throughout the campaign as you go. Now, we're doing a bunch of stuff to be permissive with levels there, so if you find something in Act 1 and you spend it in late Act 1 or early Act 2, it's still, impactful. Like, we're giving some level grace there, but at the same time, the intention isn't that you just pick up a bunch through the campaign, and when you hit maps, you've got 64 reagents, good to go for the good rewards. And so because of that, yes, you do want to be using them or losing them pretty much.
All right, okay. Is there much point to killing the Arch Nemesis without the modifiers? Do they still have their own kind of like set rewards, or is it just kind of basic as killing around normally?
You can only release the monster attached to the statue by expending a reward.
Oh.
So you may choose to expend spare rewards just releasing monsters and getting the stuff from them. Like, I find a thing that gives me a currency reward. If it's not part of my master plan, I should probably pick it up and just use it on the next statue so I get a fight and get some rewards. But you can't just tag the rares and fight them without giving them a property.
Oh wow, so it really is potentially in every other map sort of situation, or stockpile for a while and then blast them for 10 maps.
Because you're getting around 2 per area, a lot of fights are totally fine with 2. Like, that's what you're kind of wanting to do. So you may playing the default way, get to have a fight in every area, but you'll also find situations where you want to build up to 4. There's also the thing where we don't just assume the players can handle a 4 fight, right? Like, that's quite tricky. You want to have a look at what type of monster it is. Maybe if you have a 4 fight that you want to do, it's better to put it on something small like a squid or something like that, rather than necessarily a big beast or whatever.
I think with all the 4 heads in chat, everyone can handle the 4 fight, but we'll see. Sorry. So some of the mods can be combined in recipes to produce more dangerous mods. Do you ever work on discovering / tracking this recipe system at all, or is it kind of like a lookup PoEDB list or chart that someone's made sort of deal?
So we have a hinting system in the inventory where if, and this isn't shown in the footage, I should add, but this is in there now, if you have a complete recipe that you can just do, then there is a subtle shader effect on those things to say this is a component of a recipe. And once you put some in the window, then the remaining ones for that recipe have the shader effect on them. And the shader effect is more significant if the recipe is a larger, more important, valuable recipe. And so basically, as long as you just say, oh, I've got some stuff I can do, you'll work out what the recipes are. Like, that system there basically tells them to you without explicitly saying this plus this plus this in a UI somewhere. And so it'll be pretty obvious what recipes you can complete. The goal is not that these are like hidden rune words where where the community spends weeks working them all out. Like, they'll get them in the first day or two. It's going to be, many people will be able to look at the wiki to get the list if they want, but you won't need to if you just have an okay memory and look at what the UI clues tell you.
In that case, how much impact on reward does the fused modifiers have? It seems like it makes them potentially quite a lot harder.
Right, so a lot of the better rewards, the ones that do interesting conversion, come from the higher tier ones. So an example is Innocence Touched that was in the presentation, right? So that's the pinnacle of like up 4 or 5 tiers of reward combinations. It's hard to get to, that's the thing that you put together by maps and only get to do occasionally. And that does some really interesting reward conversion. So you could just get Innocence Touched and then fight it and get those rewards, but you'll realize that juicing Innocence Touched with 3 other mods, A, makes it really blindingly difficult, and B, gives you a giant pile of juiced rewards that are all like, exponentially combinatorial with the other mods that you've chosen.
Well, that does answer my next question as well, then, that you can potentially recipe together already recipe things going up tiers of modifiers. So
wow.
It's okay. 4 deep or something.
To some extent, we've understated the recipe part of it, because the recipe climbing is what the whole league is meant to be about, except that a lot of the fun is just doing the fights and combining stuff in your own recipes. Like, to some extent, the make your own reward combinations, because the design team put together really interesting conversion, to some extent that took over from the official recipes, just because there's so much cool stuff people can discover there. So yeah, there's kind of 2 ways of getting good rewards from the league.
Are you worried that this will be a bit Talisman-esque in the end then? Because that was kind of the similar concept with Talisman, but didn't work out so well in the end.
I think this is significantly more rewarding.
That's fair. Yep. That's fair. We were doing a lot of work for just the Talisman in that case. Is there like a substantial visual difference between the good recipe ones that you've made versus just the regular ones? Because I'm wondering if we're just kind of mapping on the fly and just tossing ones in, getting random recipes out, but saving the recipes, is that like easier to do?
The items themselves look more elaborate if they're higher tier ones. Okay. It'll be pretty obvious from the properties of it, and when you're fighting it, you'll certainly know that's an impactful boss thing. And it basically just all scales up. Like, it'll be pretty obvious which ones are good.
Okay, that's good. How does Arch Nemesis work in parties then, the league side of things?
So the map owner, who's like the person who's controlling the area, gets the core Arch Nemesis mod drops, and we're very careful to try to get this to be about 2 per area. The supplementary party members will also receive their own drops, and it has their own system of trying to force it so that they're not getting too many per area, but they're still getting some. So there's a system there where players are all receiving drops as they play through to accumulate their own mods. Now, in an area, any of the players can do a recipe, but it's locked so that once you've put mods in it, that player who put the mods in must be the person who puts the remaining mods in. This prevents a TFT-style backdoor complicated trade system that would completely change how the league plays intentionally, but it also means that the rewards go to the person who put the mods in, right? So if you and I are playing and we've accumulated a bunch of stuff, and in this area I want to complete my recipe, so I stick my mods in, you can't help me by putting any of yours in to complete it early, and then I get the rewards from that because it was my recipe. As in, the specific mod that's created and the specific things that drop from the combination we put together goes to me. You get, random allocation of the other items the boss drops. But in the next area, you could then do your recipe and you get the benefit of that one. So as we're playing through in a party, you just kind of alternate who's doing large recipes. And it works pretty well.
Get rolled, TFT. Classic. So, but if you're the map opener, you're the only one who can put the mods in the first place, right?
Any player can start putting mods in. So if some guy
really?
brushes in and sticks a mod in ahead of you, then it's their instance in terms of putting mods
Then
in.
they've locked it in. That's That's very different to how it normally works.
This is basically through playtesting where we want to make sure that it's done in a way that's fair. And unfortunately, the problem is if you have a system where I can put in half, like I've collected half of the best recipe and you've collected the other half, right? If I can stick my half in, you can stick your half in, then the balance is incredibly skewed in terms of people converging on the best stuff too quickly. So we would have to nerf it to compensate, which we don't want to do. And it also creates a system where now the second you get half of the best recipe, you go to some Discord and start spamming to get the other half. And that's not really the game. Here you have a progression that you can control. You don't have to spend a lot of time out of game trying to find it. And because of that, we can make it punchy and rewarding.
That makes sense.
We don't have to harvest it down to be bland because of the fact that there's tradability there.
Well, this is fantastic from the party play perspective because I can, if I'm opening them all the maps, which is usually how we run it, then I can put all mine in and run mine, and then my partner can collect up a bunch of mods, and then I can open a map later in the future, and they can start putting in some mods without having to dance to their hideout and put in their map and stuff like that.
Exactly. So, the only concern is if you want to put stuff in that instance, and they also want to use that instance to put stuff in, then you have to kind of choose who's going to do it, and that's a race to who puts the first one in. But to be completely honest, there are more maps, right? Like, you know,
there's always another map. But yes, like all things in life, proper communication with your partner is very important. Communicate, collaborate. All right. Can you search the Arch Nemesis inventory? Is there a search bar? I can see that being a requested feature if there isn't.
Like, as in you type in part of the name and it finds it. It's a reasonable suggestion. It hasn't come up. Like, you know, it wasn't a big issue because I think that by the time because you can control where they go, you take your good ones and you put them in the corner, and you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So you kind of do understand where your stuff is, but I don't see any harm in adding the search bar, right? Like, we're not philosophically opposed. It may already be done. In fact, there may be someone watching this going, I should do that. But you know,
so, some UX designers like, he doesn't see the harm in it.
Or they're thinking, it's been in for 4 weeks. What is this guy doing?
Okay, we'll see.
Is there a search bar, guys? Is there a highlighting thing for the Arch Nemesis inventory? There wasn't last time I checked. Yeah. Yeah, okay. We don't think so. The memory game again.
I just made more work for someone. Sorry. HMS Sin asks, can Headhunters steal the Arch Nemesis monster's unique modifiers? Oh no.
That's a great question. I remember it being discussed. Can Headhunters steal the mods?
Pretty sure we can't allow that for a variety of reasons.
I mean, they don't want it to. You just fixed a bug. It may already be handled, but there were some blank stares from...
Oh, getting it caught in time. You got a week.
Can a developer who's watching this please fix this? And if you don't, Reddit gets that one.
Very good. All right, we have a few other random questions, and then a bunch more questions from the community. Good job, mods. Okay, so I noticed that there are no new skills revealed this time. Why is that?
You weren't supposed to notice.
Oh, it's like that, is it?
We had 13 development weeks for this expansion, and we had a lot of scope. Like, this was one of those big endgame ones with a league that we needed to make, and it just didn't make the scope, right? And we also felt that the game actually has quite a lot of skills, and by buffing 2 significant archetypes so extensively, like we just literally took dozens of skills and made big improvements to them. This is kind of combined with the new Eldritch Implicits that have a lot of build enabling stuff. We're not worried about the game having nothing for people to do. It's a resourcing issue, and pretty much the fact that this isn't, there's going to be plenty of new builds for people to play.
Well, yeah, I can imagine some people are going to be disappointed because a lot of people do specifically want to always play the new skills. But I was speaking to Bex a little bit about this earlier, and she was saying like our dev resource budget for making a new skill and getting it in is actually quite high. So it is kind of like a costing decision there.
It certainly is. But it's mostly, we'd rather do this expansion well than make a few skills. And to be honest, like, the number of players who want to specifically play the new skills as a matter of course is only like a small portion of the player base. And I'd rather make content for 100% than for like 7% or whatever. But
that makes sense.
Obviously will be, skills added to the game in the future. The other thing is, like, occasionally players will say to us, hey, what you should do is not make new skills and instead fix the existing ones. And while that can't be true forever, it is something we've tried to do here. We've tried to take entire archetypes of bow users and handcast spellcasters and to fix them up quite a lot. So that should be impactful. And For people who want to try new skills, I'm sorry there aren't any in this particular one, but hopefully there are skills that have been new in the past that you haven't tried out yet, that will now be a lot more powerful.
Okay.
Nice.
So Ultimatum has not yet made a return, though in some ways Arch Nemesis does remind me of it. But is there any word on its rework and return, as previously mentioned?
This was a resourcing issue as well. We realized that to get it in the game in the state we want requires quite a lot of work, and that wasn't going to fit in 3.17 alongside this stuff. The Atlas stuff has been rather large, and so we do intend to bring Ultimatum back in the right form, but it's not this time.
All right. Potentially a next time, DM. Awakened Gems seem to keep getting... You kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'll bring it back up again anyway. Awakened Gems seem to keep getting nerfed. And I'd kind of guessed that with Cyrus and the Conquerors being semi-retired now, I guess, we'd be shifting away from them being a chase or an expected progression for builds. But it seems now that they've been made a drop from the Maven boss fights, they're staying core, somewhat at least. How do you guys feel about Awakened Gems in general, and what's the goal with them?
We see them as core, and we think they benefit many builds. In fact, we wish there were more of them that would benefit more builds. Like, it would be nice if there were Awakened support gems for literally everyone. This is not a feature announcement. That's literally just us thinking aloud. I don't even think we're planning any in the next few
guaranteed
expansions. We think it's important for you to have something that you can get from the Maven that will help improve your late game damage. The boss fights are hard, right? Like, you need this. It's punchy. You know, if you can use Awakened gems, you should definitely farm for them and get them.
So this is from the Maven's boss fights. The Maven boss fight as well. Does she get like a high chance to drop one or something?
I'm gonna dev check that.
Oh, that's like 9.
Awakened gems, are they from the Maven boss fight herself or from the other invitations?
They're from the boss fight itself, and the lesser ones that were previously just dropped by the Conquerors will be available from the regular invitation.
Interesting.
So the Maven herself is the one who drops the good ones, and the lesser ones that were previously from the Conquerors are the ones that come from the invitations. Actually by the Maven.
Thank you, Rory.
Okay.
So that's kind of good as well, because it had kind of been felt that the Maven's rewards were a little bit underwhelming compared to, say, Cyrus or some of the other bosses. As well.
I think there's also... Yesterday we had this conversation. In fact, I shouldn't be saying stuff like this. We were reading some of the drafts of questions that we may be asked, right? You know, doing our prep for this. And we get to this exact point of what are we doing about Maven rewards with regard to, you know, is the Awakened Gem sufficient? And then we decided to buff a bunch of Maven uniques. So yes, to get to your exact point that the Maven rewards were underwhelming, there are buffs to those, which were added literally at the last minute in the patch notes. Like, the patch notes were approved and done and sent to translators, and the formatting is ready and we're good and we're celebrating. And then someone says, we need to buff these uniques, so everyone gets writing again. And so I hope that actually happens.
Yeah. Oh, that's very good news if so. I hope so too. I'd like to see some spicy chase there for sure. All right. Okay, we've got some more community questions now, a lot. So apparently literally everyone, and I just have to read this proviso first. Bex said we could ask this question, apparently. So I guess blame. Why was this not presented from a hot tub?
Thank you, Bex. Okay, so I have a hot tub at my house, and I hadn't used it in a couple of years. And when we did well, it came with the house, I should add. But when we did the Halloween board, you know, the one that said one gigantic Atlas tree, Bex says, "You're welcome." Oh, cute. Anyway, when we did the Halloween board and we had the stream from a hot tub, because of course that was topical back, you know, a few months ago when we did that, I thought to myself, I bet you I'm going to be asked to do this, and this thing needs cleaning. Like, it's been a few years since anyone used it. This hot tub needs to be sorted out. And so I was sitting there, like, hot summer sun, like, getting sunburnt, scrubbing this hot tub, you know, in my spare time, just in case we needed to do it for this live stream. And then, thankfully, made a judgment call that no, for the sake of a meme, I'm not going to, like, confuse 99% of the players. But it could have happened. Like, there's a very close parallel reality here.
Yeah, the like 1% of people who pay uber attention to these memes would have loved it, but 99% of people would
There's
just
also
be
the
like,
risk
"I
of,
see
like,
the
you know,
hot
you
tub."
accidentally violate some rule. Like, turns out that's not allowed now or something like that, you know, and then instantly the stream's cut off and we just, you know, torpedoed a whole in marketing thing, you know.
All the reporting focuses on the hot tub.
That's funny.
All about the expansion. That's just what
I wanted to see him in a hot tub. That would have been funny as shit.
All right. Someone asks, how does the Ascendancy gems work with the Scion?
Oh.
I don't think they do. The Ascendancy
jewels.
jewels for Scion.
Yeah.
It works.
Oh, it does? You guys are smart. How does it work?
She has her own set.
Right. She has her own set of special mods.
Oh,
So, yeah.
okay.
Oh.
That jewel though. I was like looking at it and I was like, holy moly, there's a lot of versions of that
Yeah.
jewel.
We tried to make it clear in the stream, but to be clear, they have class restrictions, and they will give you an Ascendancy of your class from a different Ascendancy. So if you're a Deadeye, you can get a Pathfinder 1 or a Raider 1. You can't get a Juggernaut 1 as a Ranger.
Oh wow. Okay.
So they do let you splash outside of your Ascendancy class, enables tons of new builds, but it does not let you get something incredibly off class yet.
Yeah, okay, that's great. We don't have tailored drops like that typically.
Yep.
Oh,
Unless
okay.
you're an Ascendant, which does have a bunch of off-class stuff, they clarify. So to answer your original question, yes, that's how you get your super off-class stuff.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, so multiple layers to that. So you can splash stuff from other Ascendancies on your character, regardless of you not being that Ascendancy. You just have to be a Ranger if you get a Ranger one.
Yes. You're
don't have to
getting
be
any Ranger Ascendancy on a Ranger. You don't have to be a Pathfinder to get an additional Pathfinder node. So it's not about getting an extra Ascendancy point. It's about getting an extra Ascendancy point outside of your Ascendancy class, but within your class.
Wow, okay. It also means from like a farming potential, if you're like wanting to sell these or something, you might want to be like the class that is the chase version of
Well,
these.
you don't find one for your class. It's like Hellfire Torches. You find one, and if you're lucky, it's your class.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Oh no.
There are 7 classes. They'll drop for a random class, and then the node that it picks for that class is one which is from any of its Ascendancies, and you need to be that class to equip it.
Okay, all right. But you're playing a Marauder, you can get a Ranger one to drop.
You're playing a Marauder, you can get a Ranger one, and that Ranger one will have any Ranger Ascendancy passive on it, including outside of the person who equips its class. Yeah, I made this more confusing than it needed to be with my explanation here.
I was surprised because we don't normally have tailored drops like that in
Yeah,
PoE.
no, it's not a tailored drop. It's I'm just clarifying the fact that a Ranger cannot equip a Juggernaut Ascendancy skill from this.
Okay. But the question nonetheless revealed some pretty awesome stuff, so that's exciting. Okay, Lufathal asks, can we apply these new Eldritch Implicits in unique items? Well, we already answered that one. What happens when we use Chance Orbs on these items? Oh, that's an interesting one. Chance Orb being an item with an Implicit existing. Oh, 11 dev checks.
But they can't be chanced into uniques anymore once they've got them.
It's similar to synthesized items where once they have these on it, you can't chance them into uniques.
Destroyed. Very nice.
The Exile really is a game of will the community or our limited team of developers think of it first? You know, there's millions of you guys, and these guys here are real smart, and...
Oh my god.
A lot of people are also asking about tainted currency as well. What's happening with that?
I believe tainted currency does not drop anymore, right guys?
Correct.
Yeah. No more tainted currency for now. For the record, I really like tainted currency, so we may see it again in the future in some form, but no, all the Scourge is going away for now.
Yeah.
I love tainted currency. That was really cool mechanic.
Easier 6 links. That was a very popular thing. And how do you guys feel about that? Because I feel like every time you guys have made 6 links easier to acquire, it's been universally praised.
Yeah. I feel if we made it so it auto picks up items, people would praise it. And then if we made it so that, like, you know, these appear in a spreadsheet rather than a stash tab, people would praise it. And then if we made it so you don't need to log in for it to find the items, people would praise it. And then if it just emails you a daily update of how cool you are. Like,
calm down. Calm down.
I think easier 6 links is going to get praised until the game has no valid progression anymore.
While that may be true, I think this is slightly different because I think this touches on the issues with the current socketing system, which you guys already agree to.
Yep.
You're removing the whole thing in PoE 2.
I was explicitly pushing for easier 6 links for the longest time, right? Like whenever there's an opportunity over the last decade to make 6 linking easier, I'm saying do it. So I agree in this case. Okay. Partly because 6 linked items are going away in PoE 2, and now it's a matter of 6 linked gems and.
Yeah, I figure it's going away.
That's
soon.
true.
Why not just give everyone their 6 links pretty easily? It's just it's so much nicer. But anyway,
I can't wait for PoE 2.
It's us. Would it be possible to color the new Implicits text according to the mod? Eldritch blue text and the other one red. Accessibility feature request.
You can press Alt to see more information, and that way the item looks normal and easily readable, and then you tap Alt and you get a overload of stuff.
Okay, all right.
We are putting it on the advanced mod description stuff, right?
Also, one's on the top and one's on the bottom.
Yeah.
They're always in the same order.
Which one is on the top? Do you remember? There is an order. We'll check it.
Cleansing fire.
Yeah.
The
It's
series-
likely the cleansing. It's likely the Searing Exarch is on the top. We'll find out though. So it's also worth noting we've removed the option for advanced mod hovers. Now it's just mandatory. For some reason, this is the thing we added with a default of off. So a new player installs the game, presses Alt, and doesn't get stuff. And so that's definitely just on with the option removed now. So anyone
Thank
who
you.
hated it for some reason, it's mandatory.
Yeah, I as a streamer, you often have to be like, why don't I get that text?
Okay,
Can
and
you
here's an
enable it?
amazing thing for our international players. In this release, when you press Alt while looking at an item, it will show the unique name and base type in English in brackets, and so you can Google for them. So, I mean,
Ah.
I guess if you were having problems with this, you probably can't understand this. But anyway, someone please tell the international players that you can now see what the items are. And this is really important for builds. Like, imagine you're playing the game in a language and you struggle with English, and you find a cool unique, and you're looking at, say, the Russian name for it, and you Google for it to find out what build to play. You won't find the English build guides, whereas now you can find the English one. We've also added experimental support, like an early version of Japanese for testing. I forget the instructions of how to enable it. It might just be, I think you have to go / language Japanese on the command line, but if anyone would like to give us some feedback on that, we'll be opening a forum. It's not finished yet. Like, this is just the baseline kind of, quarter of it done or something like that. And we'll ideally get that done
Interesting.
in the next months to a year.
Interesting. They're
Awesome.
kind
Well,
of getting
that's
some
awesome
weird,
stuff to hear.
wonky
Yeah, I can say that
things
will be
just
really
to try to
helpful as well.
push the
I could just like read the patch
developer
notes to
thing
all
out
day and just
so people
delay
can get their
it, actually.
drops.
You'll be
I've already
releasing
got my
them.
drops, so yeah, they're just doing bullshit questioning. It's gonna be a while until the patch notes come out. I was checking every once in a while. I would actually check the actual website to see if they've released the patch notes, and they have not yet. So I'm still waiting for those. But as of right now, I'm gonna turn the stream off and go get myself some food because I told myself I was gonna get food. Pretty good stuff. I don't know yet. I don't know if I want to make another video about it or at least talk about it again later or something, but we'll figure out what to do next. So will I be live again later? Probably. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I might. I'll figure it out. Like, I just still feel like shit, so I don't know yet if I want to be on or off yet. So I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know in Discord. Anyways, I'm gonna head out for right now so I can go get food. So see you guys later. Bye bye.